Hello and welcome to this Talks at Google event. My name's Carl Tanner and it's my privilege to co-chair Mixed Googlers here in EMEA. We're here today for a special Mixed Googlers Talks at Google event. For those that don't know, Mixed Googlers is one of many Google employee resource groups. We're a dedicated community for multiracial, multi-ethnic and multi-heritage Googlers and our allies. We're a diverse community with many backgrounds represented, and what brings us together is our commonality of experience. Today, I'm super excited to introduce a guest who really needs no introduction. She's one of the world's most iconic entertainers. She's a proud Northerner hailing from a working class mixed race family in Leeds. She's built international stardom as 1/5 of the most popular girl band ever, the Spice Girls, and has gone on to carve out a global career as a television entertainer, a theatre performer, a movie actress, an author of a best-selling autobiography, and is a patron of Women's Aid. I'm delighted to welcome Mel B MBE to Google. Mel, welcome.
Oh my God, what an entrance. God, I'm like, who's he talking about? Thank you, that was lovely.
No, we're super thrilled to have you. I think, looking at everything that you've achieved over the years, definitely an icon for many of us. And, I live in Maidenhead, and I know this is where the Spice Girls was formed. So, I walk past that house most days on my dog walk. But yeah, I've got Yeah, no, I mean, it's just a little icebreaker, but we've got a bunch of questions to ask. So if it's okay with you, we'll jump straight in.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, I guess, what's your mixed heritage background? Where are your parents from? And if you can talk to us a little about where you grew up as a child, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So my dad's black, my mum's white. My dad is from a small island in the Caribbean called Nevis. And my mum's English Rose, blonde hair, blue eyes, born and bred in good old Yorkshire, Leeds. So I'm mixed. Oh God, in the 70s I was born. And my mum and dad were in a tiny little flat at the rough, like, ghetto part of Leeds, like Hyde Park. And I grew up a bit in Hyde Park, then a bit in Horsforth, in a council estate in Kirkstall. So there weren't many mixed race kids around at all. So I was kind of like the only one with the big hair, refusing to get it braided, getting chased home from school, being called all kinds of names because they didn't quite know what I was. Was I Indian, Pakistani? They had all kinds of names for me, from redskin to the N-word to a few more. Yeah, half-breed. Yeah, also. So that's how I grew up.
Yeah, super similar to me, well, opposite. My dad was white, very fair, red hair. My mum from Guyana, and like you, didn't really fit in with either community, right? I didn't fit in with the white kids, didn't fit in with the Asian kids. So yeah,
No.
you can easily become lonely, when there aren't others like you. And I think that's something that we as mixed Googlers often identify with one another.
And it's funny because back in the day, I remember filling out even the early days of Spice Girls. So you're talking like 1995-ish. I remember whenever we'd go abroad, you used to have to fill out these long landing cards, like if you were traveling to America, and they never had my like racial orientation on there, ethnicity. So I'm not black, I'm not white. And then so I would always put under other mixed race, and it used to really bother me. Obviously now there's a list of mixed Caribbean, mixed Ghanaian, mixed with this. The list is endless. It takes too long to even scroll down now. So it's gone from 0 to 100 being able to have your identity as a mixed race person.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we're definitely making progress. I think there's still more work to be done, but yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, definitely same experience. And, whenever I'm traveling to America, I would always, if anyone's going to get picked out for a security check, 9 times out of 10, it's me.
My daughter has the same too. My daughter's 25 and she's guaranteed to always get stopped, as am I. But now, I've got the TSA thing, so you can kind of go through quite quick and hopefully avoid being spotted on or pointed at and shamed with all your luggage having to be looked through. I'm like, come on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I mean, I want to pivot slightly towards the book. So, yeah, you published your book, Brutally Honest, back in 2019. Would you like to talk? Was it 2018? Okay.
2018, yeah.
Could you talk to us a little bit about how it talks about, kind of your upbringing in the book? I've kind of read those chapters numerous times myself, and I think it would be really useful for our community to get that insight into, what it was like for you growing up.
Well, I mean, in the book, well, obviously I wrote it in 2015, 16 with my dear friend Louise Gannon. And I mean, in the book, it talks about a lot of things. The main bulk of it is all about me living a 10-year marriage of domestic violence, domestic abuse, coercive control. But I really wanted to give a background into who I was, because I think when you're mixed growing up, I think one of the mixed friend, and her mum was white and Scottish, her dad was black. And she would always say, I'm black. And she had all the black friends. And I used to think, well, that's not really fair, because you haven't really seen much of your dad. You live with your mum, who's a white Scottish lady. Why would you deny that side of your heritage? Because I think in this day and age, especially because I'm raising 3 kids that are all different mixes of black and white and all different types, all different colored shades of brown and black.
Yeah.
I think it's so important that you hold on to your heritage, because that's your identity. I don't think it's fair for me to be growing up as a mixed race person to completely deny the white side or completely deny the black side. My dad didn't come over to this country until he was 16, and my mum's one of seven, all being white, and she was the first one to date and dare to be seen with a black guy. So when I was born, there was a lot of National Front, a lot of NF. So my mum would actually hand me to my dad so that my dad wouldn't get beaten up because he's holding a newborn. And there was always levels of racism in between, in amongst the black people and the white people and the mixed people. And I could never really understand it, because I'm like, well, I'm mixed. My mum's white, my dad's black, and I've got the best of both worlds in my eyes. So that was confusing for a long time. And plus, it's funny, having the surname Brown as a young kid, I thought, well, yeah, I'm Melanie Brown because I'm brown. And I couldn't understand when they first called the school register why they weren't called so-and-so black, so-and-so mixed, or so-and-so yellow, orange, tan. I was so confused. And I remember bringing it up to my mum and dad, and they were just like, well, you're not called Melanie Brown because you're brown. That's your dad's name, and that's our married name. It gets passed down to you. And my mum and dad were very good at not allowing me to pick sides. So when I'd get chased home from school by a bunch of white NFs, whatever, my mum and dad would say, we're not going to go down to school. You fight your own battles and you stand up for who you are and just believe and trust in who you are. You're a mixed race girl. They're calling me redskin and Paki and half-breed, which is such derogatory names. But then again, what can my mum and dad do? They had me in a day and age where it wasn't really seen to mix black with white, and then to have a mixed race baby. My mum really struggled a little bit at first, because she'd get looked at by the white community, looked at by the black community. They were getting it from both sides, and at the end of the day, they were just 2 people that found each other and were in love and wanted to start a family. So there was lots ups and downs growing up, but I think, it's made me who I am today, and it's made me more than ever, want to champion mixed race and want to champion and celebrate being raised and brought up with both cultures, because my household was very even. It wasn't too black, it wasn't too white, it was just my mum and dad. My dad's from Nevis, my mum's from good old Yorkshire.
Fantastic. And yeah, no, I would agree. I think, the world is becoming more beige. More and more people are doing as our parents did, and, kind of finding, each other, and, that creates the mix, and, then, kind of all great things happen from there. And yeah, I think for me personally, like what you've just been talking about, like getting people calling you the names. Yeah, I got it from both sides. I got it from the white kids, I got it from the Asian kids, I got it from the black kids, and it really creates an identity crisis. Like, you don't know where you fit in. And again, that's something that I definitely hear from other.
Well, I don't know. Let me ask you a question. What was your hair like when you were growing up?
when I had some.
Curls, or was it like the tighter curls or wiry? Like, because my hair has always been a big thing and I could never understand it. I remember being at school and somebody saying, "Can I touch it?" And then the black girls and white girls, they'd pull it, and one girl tried to cut it. Like, there was this whole fascination. I'm like, I just got up and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, no, my hair was, kind of curly, but I lost it at a very young age. But yeah, no,
Right.
when I had hair, it was, pretty curly, and
And were
I
people
don't
fascinated by it?
I didn't get that so much. I mean, there were definitely, a few occasions, but I kind of I went to an all boys school, so
Right.
it was a slightly different kind of dynamic that was created. There was a lot
Right.
of it was just an interesting period of kind of growing up, because I was just, one of one. There was no one else like me until my brother joined a year later. So yeah.
That's crazy. And even like your school life is probably the most challenging, but it's the most kind of experience that sticks with you forever. You know, how teachers are to you. And I remember there was no black teachers, no Indian teachers. It was all white. And that was
Exactly.
not a good representation of how I wanted to see the world, and then you look on TV, there wasn't that many black or mixed race like figures apart from Nina Cherry and Tina Turner. That was the only people that I could look up to and identify with because they looked similar to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, one of the things that my dad actually really loved was music. So we would have all genres of music playing, from Bob Marley.
Yeah.
He had a really eclectic mix
My
of
dad, my
music.
mum and dad definitely did. And they're so proud to tell me that they actually saw Bob Marley in concert at some Leeds like dance hall university plot. And they they hold that thing up very highly to this day. But yeah, my music influence was the same. My dad would listen to Fleetwood Mac, and then he'd listen to Buzzy Banton, then he'd listen to Bob Marley, then he'd listen to Tracy Chapman, then he'd listen to God knows what. It was like eclectic, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, no, me too. But we used to go to these markets in London, and my mum would, she would almost have to walk behind him, as did the kids. So my dad was, kind of Cockney geezer, could, kind of mingle around the markets in Camden, whereas I think, myself, my brother, and my mum, we were 2 or 3 steps behind, and like it was just kind of a weird dynamic, and that.
It was weird, and I can imagine that because I had the same thing, but on a different kind of level. Because we finally moved out of the ghetto, out of Hyde Park, into quite an okay area, as in there weren't like things happening on street corners so much in this particular area in Kirkstall. And I remember 2 doors down from our house, there was a big like community. How can I call it? It's like a working men's club, right? Well, it was a working men's club.
Mhm.
So everybody on the street and everybody in that area would go there on a weekend, or they'd have quiz night, or they'd have like a big Christmas dinner. It was like where everybody went after work, and especially on a weekend. And we were never allowed to go. And my mum and dad didn't really explain it to me, but obviously I figured it out myself. I'm like, because my mum got accepted, but not my dad and not us. So when I'm sitting there having done my homework, I'm like, well, why can't we go to the club, Shelley, from down the road's going? And it really, really, really bothered me. So much so that when Spice Girls got, quite popular, and we were out there in the public eye with our songs Wannabe and Say You'll Be There and stuff, I made it a point to go in there. And I said to them, I mean, it wasn't very nice what I said, but I said along the lines of, you're racist and I'm going to shut you down, and I'm actually going to shut you down, and I'm going to buy that club and make it an equal opportunity place where people can mix of all different lifestyles, cultures, races. Because to think that I was 10 years old. So it's only like that's 85.
Yeah.
And that was still happening on our street with nobody batting an eyelid, and everyone just going, well, that's just how it is. It's a working men's club, but only for white people. It did not make sense. It used to drive me mad. I used to literally, when they were all there queuing up, like purposely walk backwards and forwards, because it was 2 doors down. So it's not like you could even miss the fact that such racism was going on right on your doorstep.
Yeah, I mean that's sad to hear, and fortunately, I think most of the hopefully the generation of today won't have to experience what you and I had experienced back then. I think one of the ways that my mother dealt with it, she just integrated, she just westernized. So myself and my brother were brought up as if we were white, and I think that for me was
Really?
the yeah. So that was the biggest challenge when I got to school. Up until that point, I didn't think I was anything different, and then when I get to school, it was like, oh my god, I'm not the same. And that's
Right.
when I think my problems kind of created.
You see, from a young age, I noticed that I was a different color and a different shade from black, from white, because there was nobody else apart from my one friend who's still my friend to this day. There was nobody else with that same coloring or even the same hair. I was like, oh God, I'm really different. Plus, my mum's one of seven, so I've got lots of cousins,
Yeah.
lots of nephews, and they're all blonde with, blue eyes. So when we'd all go camping, because we couldn't afford to go away on holiday, like to Spain or wherever on an aeroplane, we'd all travel down, me, my mum, my dad, my mum's 7 brothers and sisters, and all their family, because a lot of my dad's family still lived in the West Indies, in Nevis. So we'd have a campsite of all of our clan and then me. And I remember playing on the beach with some other kids, and they were convinced that Joanna, for example, was not my cousin, or Christian was not my cousin. They couldn't understand it. So I'd have to sit down and explain, well, her mum and my mum are sisters, but my mum married a black guy. That's why I'm like I am. And that's how we're cousins. And people and kids would still be going, huh? No. That they couldn't comprehend how I would be proudly saying, yeah, that's my cousin. They couldn't understand it.
Yeah, no, I on my dad's side, my cousins and kind of extended family, I remember just walking down the streets and people would be calling names. And, for my cousins, they just knew me as their cousin, were kind of
Yeah.
shocked to see that, we were getting treated in that way. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Um,
think for me, I always had a sense that I was different, and that made me that. I mean, it could have gone two ways. If I didn't have a supporting, loving family, I could have been trying to hide my color, or I don't know. Some kids, I've heard bleaching their skin, or tying their
yeah.
hair back, or ironing out their hair, and it made me go the other way. I was like,
Okay.
what I've been given, I love this. I love that I have this colouring, and then when I go in the sun, I can get even darker if I want to. And I love that my hair, it's wash and go, and there you go. I don't have to
Excellent.
spend hours straightening it or styling it. It is what it is, and I love it. And
Yeah, no, brilliant.
it wasn't really a thing that I went, well, I am gonna stand out. I was like, well, this is me, because I like since Spice Girls, and especially when we first hit the scene, a lot of people would say to me, oh, so you're wearing your hair out on purpose, or you're wearing leopard print on purpose because of the black jungle thing. And I'd be going, what are you talking about? My hair's my hair, and I just happen to love leopard print. I always have my entire life since I was young, since I watched Bette Lynch on Coronation Street behind the bar in a leopard print
Yeah,
tube
yeah.
top. I was like, when I'm old enough, I'm wearing everything leopard print. I've actually got a whole room downstairs of leopard print. And that was just my thing. People wanted to make it into a race thing, and especially because in the 90s we were so popular, and even hopefully, fingers crossed, still to this day, it's always been
Absolutely.
a question that not white people dare ask me, but black people, like I'm doing, or I've done it on purpose, or I'm somehow disrespecting. I'm like, no, I wore my hair out because this is my hair. Well, am I supposed
Yeah.
to wear my hair in? No, this is my hair.
Excellent. Well, I mean, going back to the book, I know that you've got a new updated version
Yeah.
coming out in March. Have you noticed any difference in the way that the publishing industry has changed in terms of embracing the BAME kind of audience, and why, was that an important part of the update, or?
Well, I think, the update, I mean, a lot has happened to me
Of course.
since 2018 to now 2024. I'm engaged. I got an MBE. I moved back to Leeds, going back to my roots. So, and I've got away from an abusive relationship, marriage of 10 years, and my father died. So a lot has happened. So I felt the need to update, especially for all the survivors out there, because my book is literally their story, and their stories, my story. But back in the day, trying to get the book published, it was not only do we not want to talk about that, but we don't even want to relate it to what's going on in society right now, where abuse has been around forever. It's not going to go anywhere unless we do something about it. And especially when it comes to domestic abuse, it's an epidemic. 1 in 3 are being killed either by suicide or their partner. We're not going to solve anything by trying to not talk about it. So it was really hard for me to get this publishing deal, and I had to fight and knock doors down because it was such a taboo topic, and especially coming from somebody who loudly and proudly says, I'm a mixed race woman and I'm from a council estate, but literally abuse can happen to anyone. You don't have to be black, white, rich or poor. Abuse is abuse. It doesn't have a filter or a certain selected type of man or woman to be abused. So for me to get the book out, for a start, I thought it was going to end my career because you just don't talk about that stuff. And the only other representation that I had at the time was Tina Turner, What's Love Got to Do with It? Where even, God rest her soul, even before she died, she wouldn't want to talk about her abuse per se. Even the musical that I went to the day before she actually died, she said, I know it's my story, but I'm not going to watch the musical. I embrace it. It is my story because she's told it in so many words, but it was so painful for her, she shone away. So that was my only experience of somebody of color talking about that taboo topic so openly, or expressing it to her fans and the world, whoever wanted to listen to it. So if it wasn't for my mum and my daughter Phoenix and Louise pushing me to actually release it, I'd lost faith because it took so long to even get anybody interested. And then, I'm thinking, I'm Spice Girl, I'm girl power, yet this book is explaining a 10-year period where I had no power. It got chipped away and taken away from me. And I'm talking about something that everybody knows about, but nobody talks about it. It's like, why are we not talking about it? We can talk about things and hopefully make things better, or at least start engaging. So from 2018 to now, of course, it's at the tip of everybody's tongue now. It's discussed in Parliament, and I'm so glad. You've got Black Lives Matter. You've got all these different kind of genres now that are now openly being spoken about. Being proud of where you come from, your Black heritage, your mixed heritage, and actually having some kind of support system for somebody that's gone through abuse or that's going through abuse, because we all know somebody. If it's not ourselves, we can all identify with it. So there's been a massive change, absolutely huge. And I'm really, really glad about it. Obviously, we've got a long way to go. And there's still the whole justice system that is not very helpful or supportive, because the laws are so old school. To even get a domestic violence charge these days, you have to literally go through such an intense step by step, and it just makes you lose faith in the justice system. And I've been part of the justice system for 10 years because I have a child with my perpetrator, if you want to call him that. She is. So a lot's changed for the good, but there's still a lot more to do. And I'm patron of Women's Aid, which helps and supports and educates anybody going through abuse on any kind of level, because it's not just coercive control, domestic violence, physical abuse, it's mental abuse, it's being abused financially. There's all different levels of abuse. Yes, it comes under the bracket of being abused, which I think old school wise, we just think abuse is, being punched or being hit. That's just one smidgen of what the breadth of abuse actually is. But I'm glad we're now in an environment, I'm glad we're now in a situation where we can have these conversations over dinner. Like, I can speak to my kids about it, like what looks like a healthy relationship. And I'm raising 3 kids. My youngest is 12, my eldest is 24. Like I said before, 3 different kids. Well, I'm saying it now, 3 different kids by 3 different fathers. My thing is, I never gave up on love, but they're all different shades of brown and black and mixed. So, number one is just be able to talk to your kids about how they feel, about how they're treated, about if they see any bullying going on, which still does happen, and about how you feel in your own skin as yourself.
Yeah, and rather than end your career, that book, I know you got invited by the then Prime Minister Theresa May to, help form a steering committee, and the Queen
Yeah.
awarded you your MBE. So, like it's just a real tale of, facing that adversity and sharing it with others. I mean, this is again a big part of what we find within the mixed Googler community, like just sharing our stories, and that combined learning just helps us identify that we're not alone. We're not the only ones that have faced these things in this way. And I think that's true for many other, kind of minority groups. But yeah,
I think you've
maybe.
got I think you've got a really good point there when you say about sharing your story, because you'll find the more that you talk about, your mixed raceness and your heritages from both sides, I think you feel a lot more less alone, because especially if you grew up like me and you did, where there's no one around you, no one on the same street, nobody in the school, no teachers, when you have nothing literally around you to give you that, like, this is where I belong. You can be left like a little bit of a floating soul. So I don't blame back in the day for young kids to be clinging to the white side or clinging to the black side, but then that's for parents to say you're loved because you are mixed. You come from me and your dad, and we come from different cultures and backgrounds, and so we're going to share it with you, and you're the product of it. I think parents have to take some kind of responsibility to ensure that love and that openness, and encourage them to embrace their individuality, which now we're living in a world, like we say, we're all mixed on some level.
Yeah, no, exactly that. And, hopefully we'll just see more and more, kind of communities mixing with one another, and, just trying to find that level of acceptance to try and create a better place for all. But
then we do have, I know I'm talking a lot, we do have, because there's if you think back to the older generation, for example, when I was living in Australia, I lived in Australia for about 3 years, and the older generation also need to be educated, because I went for a reading by this lovely little old woman. She was about 85 or something like that. She was into her crystals, and she'd come really, really highly recommended. And in the middle of her giving me this tarot reading, she literally looked at me and she went, "Gosh, you're beautiful for a coloured." And she didn't mean it in a racist sense, because that's, I guess, how she normalized it, because that's how she was raised or grew up. And it took me back by surprise, because I'm like, this was only like 2 years ago. I went, oh. And then I looked at her and I just thought, well, you need to be educated, even though that's a kind of compliment, but really not. So then I spoke to her, and she actually was nearly crying how she then understood how that would be offensive. And then don't forget, back in that day and age, if you were a seamstress, they actually had on the chart of colours, not the colour brown. So say if you were looking for a brown piece of fabric or a brown piece of cotton, it was called brown. That is an actual fact, and they've only kind of just changed it in the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you almost sympathize with the older generation, but you also have to educate them, because, in other words, if they're not being told or shown, or if you don't explain it to them, they're just as bad as the younger generation that were there in the 90s, that had all the NF stamps and going on kicking people and beating people up.
Yeah, no, exactly true. And yeah, I mean, I remember a scenario whereby being introduced to an elderly person, and they're saying, "Oh, you've been on holiday, have you?" And they just couldn't realize that this is the color of my skin.
When me and the girls used to go on holiday, I remember we got our first big paycheck, and we were like, "Where can us 5 go?" We're like, "We'll go to Maui." Because that was really tropical. And we all registered at this beautiful hotel. We all had connecting rooms. And every time I would re-enter the hotel, they would check my ID and check my passport. And they'd seen me with the other 4 girls, but they'd always stop me and check me like, "Are you really staying at this swanky posh hotel?" And then one of the funniest things to me was, I mean, I just used to go, "Yeah, I am. What are you going to do about it? How many times are you going to have to," excuse my language, "how many times are you going to check? What do you think? I've morphed into the same person again? I'm still the same color." And then obviously as the holiday progressed, I would sunbathe. I love sunbathing, obviously with sunscreen on, but my skin would just love it. And I would go such a beautiful, like reddy, tanned, browny color. So then as time went on, and then we were going to leave the hotel, I literally did look like a different person because I embraced my color and I love to tan safely, of course. But it always used to make me laugh because it'd be like, so do you think that mixed people or black people, we don't like to sunbathe or get a tan?
Yeah.
What's that about? It's like, oh, you don't need it. You're already that shade. Well, yeah, and I can go some other shades too that I like.
Exactly that. And I think my wife's very pale red hair. My dad was very pale red hair. So my kids, you wouldn't necessarily know that they are mixed, because they
I
present
think I would
as
know because you
yeah,
can always see.
yeah. I think that's true. But yeah, that they tan really. They just
Love it.
sit in the sun for half an hour and they go a really deep, kind of golden brown. Which
And
like
you
my
can still
wife is
get
like, how
burnt. I think there's a myth that if you're mixed or if you're black, you can't get burnt by the sun. Well, you still can. I
Yeah,
remember
especially on
burning
your
my
head.
feet one time,
Yeah.
especially for you and your head. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, yeah, let's move to a next question then. So, do you feel there's been a shift in the conversation about race and representation in the music industry since your time with the Spice Girls?
Definitely, because now you see a lot more of color. You see black, you see all types of different mix and all types of music coming together, whether it be Bhangra, whether it be Afrobeat, whether it be reggae. You see a lot more of the fusion coming forward. And also you see a lot more of shapes and sizes. So
Yeah.
it's actually done. Music has moved forward. I feel like we still need to catch up also. But I'm really happy about that because when I was, on top of the pops and stuff, there was nobody on top of the pops of color that I can remember. I mean, you had Return of the Mac, you had Bobby Brown, but that was mainly kind of American.
Hmm.
In like UK pop and UK culture in the 90s, there weren't that many. It was mainly, I mean, you had Tina Turner and you Mick Jaggers and you rock, but it was very far and few between. You had Seal, you had what's that guy that sung There's Nothing Like This? What's his
Oh gosh.
name?
Oh gosh, I can't remember his name,
Love
but the other
it.
Terence Trent D'Arby would be another one. I think he was kind
Yeah.
of iconic in
And
my.
there was Womack and Womack and
Yeah, of course.
so they did start coming, but then it felt like everyone just died off. But whereas now it's full of any kind of black, Caribbean, Indian, Bhangra, Afro beats. It's full of it now, and you can actually have your choice. Whereas back then, I think it was very limited what they would put on mainstream TV. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's true for all diverse perspectives. I mean, you see a lot more people that are openly kind of out if they're part of the LGBTQ plus community. There's just been so much progress over the last few years, or over the last few decades. But there's still always more to be done. And
Well, there is more to be done because if you think about it, like if you go for a job interview and you want to speak to the boss, 9 times out of 10, well, 10 times out of 10, it's going to be a white elderly person. Like in boardrooms, there's still not that movement of black, mixed, ethnic, whatever you see yourself off, whatever your heritage is, there's still not that. That has kind of stood still. Like we'll give you a little bit, but it's still going to stay white from this part upwards, which is a real shame. And that's one thing that I would like to see. I'd like to see a lot more black and mixed judges, lawyers. I think doctors have always moved in that area quite freely, but there's still not enough.
yeah, no,
Right
I
at
would
the top,
agree.
elite class. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, like here I work for Google Cloud, and our CEO is a guy called Thomas Curran, who's black. Our CEO Sundar is Indian. So I think it does
Oh,
happen,
that's
but
good.
it needs to happen more and more. I would
A
absolutely
lot
agree with
more.
that, and especially
Well,
here in the
especially because
UK.
even in the music industry, I feel like America's moved on a lot more than we have here because even still the top CEOs of all the record labels, they're all white. Maybe the A&R guy is black because
Yeah,
he knows what his music is, you know what I mean, or her music is. But still at the top, there's still that like standard stop of, well, not there yet.
Yeah, no, very, very true. Maybe if we move on to a next question,
I'm
just
just answering questions all over the place.
no,
Sorry.
this is fantastic, Mel. I mean, just hearing your insights, and also the commonality in, like your story. Our stories are very different in many ways, but also
Well,
there are
very similar.
similarities as well. So,
Yeah.
I get that from almost every conversation I have with someone from, mixed heritage background.
And I don't
There
know
is
if
also.
it is. Now, do you think it is that we're more kind of open to the fact of our mixed heritage? That's if your mum and dad did operate on equal playing fields, as in dad's black, mum's white, we're going to embrace that and we're actually going to talk about it. Because I don't know if you feel this, but I do feel like the mixed community is kind of not that racist in the fact that they embrace both sides more so than I found any other mixed culture, or just simple black or white. I feel like maybe I'm just bigging up our our mixed heritage, but I do feel we're more prone to kind of really accept and embrace both. And if we haven't been brought up with both, we really do make an effort to actually, as our own person, we really embrace both. And especially if you've got kids, you want to raise them being aware of everything.
Yeah, no, I think that is mainly true. From my experience, I have witnessed people on, my mother's side of the family not maybe embracing all communities. I mean, they'd be more than happy for people to marry or, partner with a white person, maybe less inclined to see those individuals partner with people from different ethnic backgrounds. And I think also I've seen, as part of my work here with Mixed, my co-chair is half Egyptian, half Japanese, right? So that's not a
Wow.
mix that you would not necessarily immediately think of as a
Yeah,
UK
yeah,
or
yeah.
British person, but it's actually, a very popular mix because of
I bet that's
some of the
beautiful
things that.
too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then, I've come across individuals where, with what's going on in the world, like Ukrainian, Russia, there's, two whites, but, very different kind of backgrounds. And, what we're trying to do with our community is embrace all of that and help everyone find that affirmation and, kind of create that community where
And
we are.
not feel so alone and be put into the box of, oh, you just look exotic. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
exactly. Yeah, yeah. No, very true. So yeah, we'll take a bit of a pivot towards a bit about like how you balance both motherhood and kind of managing your career. So I think one of the main questions our members and allies ask about when parenting mixed kids is, as a mum, having had mixed kids, being a mixed person yourself, what do you do to teach them about their identities? And do you have any advice to share? We see a lot of people within our community that where they've partnered up with somebody from a different ethnic background and they're just about to settle down and they're thinking about, when we have kids, what does that mean? And, I know, sorry, go ahead.
No, go on. No, I just took a big breath because I'm waiting till
Ah,
you finish before I just jump on you.
I was just thinking, the whole Harry, like thinking about what color would the baby be when he or she comes out. That's a conversation that I remember me and my wife having. So, it was
I
just,
think that that's an honest conversation to have, to be
yeah.
honest. You know what I mean? I mean, my three kids have got three different baby daddies. So Phoenix, her dad was raised and born in Amsterdam, but he is Surinamese heritage, which I think is a mix of Chinese and Indian.
Yeah.
So Felix got brought up speaking fluent Dutch, and his family is all from Suriname. So he's Surinamese.
Hmm.
So I've got my 24-year-old, that's Surinamese, and then my mix, which is half, if you want to say half West Indies, half good old Yorkshire. And then my middle child, her father's Eddie Murphy. So that's full black on the dad's side, but mixed on the mother's side.
Hmm.
And then my youngest, her father's mixed, and I'm mixed. He has the same mix that I do. So his mum's white, his dad black. And funny because when Madison was over for Christmas, she was trying to figure out. So what does that make me, mummy? So if you're mixed and dad is mixed, what am I? And I didn't have the answer. I'm like, good question. Apart from you are also mixed, you're not fully white or fully black, you're mixed. But then it did make me think, like, well, how do I explain that? Because she was saying, so does that mean that I'm a quarter of a third of this? And I was like, it's kind of mind boggling. Like,
It
what
definitely is.
do you say?
Yeah, I mean, my kids have the same thing. As I said earlier, they present as being like British white, but they've probably had, they're more interested in my heritage than I've ever been. I've never been to Ghana. I've never had any inclination.
Oh,
It was
really?
actually,
I went to Ghana 2 Christmases ago because my daughter has got a long-term boyfriend from Ghana who looks completely white with freckles.
oh, fantastic. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
but for them, they were really interested. And, that has led us on a bit of a journey. You spoke about your daughter coming over Christmas. My mum was over the Christmas before. She now lives in America. And my kids were able to get out of her things that she would never share with me or my brother, to sit her down with a bottle of Prosecco. And, the conversation was just free flowing. So it's great just to, like see that multi-generational.
And I think your kids will be really interested because your national, like, Ghanaian food is very like homemade. I remember when we went to Ghana with my daughter and her boyfriend to go and visit his family. They have, I think it's called fufu.
Yeah, that's
Is it?
right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to like hammer it, and it's such a traditional thing. I think when it comes to explaining stuff to your kids and heritage, I think it's so important that they get to ask, not just me, but unfortunately my dad's passed away, but I can tell stories about my dad growing up in Nevis. He was brought up with chickens and cows. It was all in his backyard. I think kids find that so interesting. I know I do. I know that my kids find it interesting too. And that's a conversation because you don't want to lose that thread of, your heritage, like the way that you cook or that your grandma cooks. Because I had a great grandmother that only died recently, and she was 107, born and
Wow.
raised in Nice. So it's important to kind of get those stories and carry them on through your kids, through however you end up being friends with. It's so important to embrace that and not let that die.
Completely agree. We've got a bunch of questions that are coming. So at Google, we have this thing called a Dory, and Dory, I think, was named because of Finding Nemo. Dory always asks the questions. So the first question, if it's okay, is from Caitlin. And her question is, has your perspective around being named Scary Spice changed over time? As a person of mixed race, Black and Native American, I struggle with being labeled as too loud or too aggressive. And if you were to rename yourself now, what spice would you choose?
I find this such an interesting question. I think I touched on it earlier. Like, why are you wearing your hair out? Why are you wearing leopard print? Why are you called scary? Oh, because you're the only Black one of the group. You're the angry Black woman. And I'd be like, well, for a start, I'm mixed. I'm not Black and I'm not white. I'm actually mixed. And like I said before, I'm going to wear my hair like this because this is my hair. It's not a wig. And I have worn wigs to make my hair even bigger, especially on the last 2019 tour. So I embrace it. And I think, Scary Spice, all of our names were given to us by a very lazy journalist who worked at some teeny bopper magazine who couldn't be bothered to remember all of our names. And he just very lazily said, well, that one looks posh because she's in a black dress looking all sophisticated. That one looks like baby. She's got pigtails. That one's ginger because she's got ginger hair. That one looks sporty because she's in a sporty tracksuit. And I think how I got my name was, if we were going to do an interview and the interviewer had his questions like this, I'd snatch his questions and go, now interviewers. I was that girl. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to take time out to interviews, know your shit and know what you're going to ask. You don't need to read it off a piece of paper. So that can be seen as quite, I don't know, scary or intimidating, but I'm a northern girl. We say it how it is. And I've been brought up in Leeds my whole life. And now I'm back in Leeds in my late 40s. So northern's my roots. It's my soul. If you ask anybody for directions up north, they won't just tell you them. They'll probably take you to the spot themselves. We're very honest, very open. What you see is what you get. And that's just me. That's how I've been raised around, with very strong, independent women, with a northern tone of say it how it is, and with my dad's tone of just get on with it. You work hard, you play hard, and you get on with it. So I don't think I could have been named anything else. And it's worked for me. You know, you go and meet somebody and they're like, oh, God, you're scary. I'm like, well, yeah, I actually am if you piss me off. Or if you're morally incorrect or racist, then I will become full on scary. But I think there's a bit of scary in everyone. We all get pushed to a limit where we just go, right, that is, you know what I mean? It's nothing to do with race. It was never anything to do with me being mixed, me being with hair like this. It was just literally a lazy journalist. And we all looked at each other because we all still managed ourselves at that time. And we were like, do you like your name? Yeah, I like my name. Do you like that name that is put? Yeah, well, then we're just going to go with it. And that was our choice. And why not? It worked well for us.
Yeah, no, it definitely doesn't.
I wouldn't rename myself. Caitlin is the answer to your question.
Brilliant. Thank you. Next question is from...
I even drink out of this. Just to remind
Little
everyone.
Miss Scary.
And look, so we all had these done. And, you know, the Little Miss Naughty, you know, the whole series of books and where this has come from. So I'm like, oh, I wonder how they're going to do my character. And they found out that purple was my favorite color. Also, it represents domestic violence, the color purple. Oh, Color Purple is a really good movie, actually. And then they did my hair like this. And I was like, yes, I'll have that mug wherever I go.
Very good. And probably Yorkshire tea in it.
Yeah, exactly. Builder's tea, we call it.
So yeah, Mel, the next question is from Noel. And the question is, when do you feel you got to choose how you identified yourself? How did you approach it with your children? So they say that I'm a parent of 2 biracial girls. My husband feels strongly that they should know that they're black first, but I'd like them to be comfortable with mixed or anything else. What language would you recommend they use?
Well, for a start, so I'm guessing her partner's black.
Yeah, that's correct.
Saying black first. Well, I mean, each to their own, but I think you have to have a little bit more of a understanding, because if you're raising mixed kids, they're not just black, they're also white. So by saying to them you're black first, yeah, I mean, if you walk into a room full of white people and you're the only mixed one, of course they're going to see your skin color, but that doesn't mean to say that you have to say that you're black. But I mean, everybody's parenting skills are different, but I always think you go with what the truth is, and you are mixed. And that is how you should be brought up, or eventually you're going to find it out yourself, what feels more comfortable. And I think, you know, in this day and age, everybody is a little bit more open. So, I mean, I would question somebody if they're mixed and they're saying they're just black or they're just white. I would go, well, not that I have a problem with it, because you identify however you want to identify, but do know if there's a white mum or dad that made you, you can't deny that either. And that would make me really sad if one heritage was more prominent over the other. I think that would be very, very sad. Even if you walk into a room and you're the only mixed person there, you're a mixed person. You're not a black person. You're not a white person. You're mixed.
Yeah, and I think in today's society, certainly, you know, the younger generation are just more accepting, you know, so they...
Oh, way more accepting.
Yeah, so I mean...
accepting.
Yeah, across all aspects. Yeah, which I think I see as a really positive thing. I
have it right there in my 3 kids. I've got Phoenix, who's a similar tone to me, but she's more like orangey. I've got Angel, who is very black. But then, because that's it. Madison was saying, so does that make Angel 3/4? So Angel's dad's black,
right,
but I'm mixed. But that's what I was trying to remember. It wasn't that Madison was saying it about herself, because she's got 2 mixed parents. She was saying it about Angel, like, Angel, so then you're just 3/4. And I was like, in theory, I guess that could seem correct, but I don't know. And then I did actually say to Angel, it depends whatever you feel comfortable with, but just know your dad's black, but your mum's mixed. So however you want to figure it out, don't be shaming one, don't be denying one over the other. Embrace both.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, yeah, making sure that people understand that heritage and that background
Yeah.
will be super important. I
Well, it's
know.
funny because with my daughter being my youngest being 12, she was fascinated and wanted to press Angel for an answer. So does that mean you're going to identify as three quarters? And Angel was like, well, and I'm sitting at the dinner table going, this is actually a really interesting conversation because I don't have the answer. But then I was like, you're all mixed, okay? You're all mixed because your mum's mixed and your dad's somewhat mixed along the line also.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think, if you go back in time, like we all would have come, everybody's mixed. It's just that you may not present as being so. So, yeah, completely agree. A few more questions for you. I think we've only got 10 minutes left, but Sarah
I
asked,
didn't
hi,
like
Mel.
that last question because I didn't like that last question. Do you know why? Because that really bothers me that one parent is pushing one set of rules on the kids when it should be, if you've made this child together, you both have an influence and a very important heritage to bring to that child, both equally.
Yeah, I guess, with the whole Black Lives Matter, though, I can see perhaps where the conversation has come, but yeah, I don't know this individual personally. So,
Well, I think she should tell him to back off and let's have a nice, equal conversation about it with our kids. And most importantly, make your kids understand and feel the love from both heritages.
that I definitely agree on. So yeah, the next question is from Sarah, and it's hi Mel, thanks for your presence today. How do you think the perception of mixed heritage people has changed since you were a child? I remember identifying with you growing up as a mixed girl. Now I raise two mixed boys. And to me, it's important that they have representation figures around them. So, I mean, that's kudos to you because I think you're you were that person. You were that person for me growing up. I'm a bit older than you, but, just seeing you, do what you did and the success that you've seen is inspiring. And I think that's what Sarah's sharing here too.
Oh, that's really lovely. Well, I think for me, I didn't set out to be this person that's, let me just rephrase it. I am who I am. I mean, I've gone through many different hairstyles, hair changes, and I always come back to my roots. Just like I've lived in America for 15 years, I've lived in Australia for 4 years. I always come back home to my roots. Hence, I'm living back in Leeds. In 2019, I moved in with my mum and my 3 kids. So I've always just been me. And I think as authentic as that may seem, I don't think I could be any other way. It wasn't like I said, well, I'm going to set out and make this just my thing. No, but it wasn't just my thing. It was me. And I can't help being anything other than me. And I think growing up, because I wasn't identified, I didn't identify with anybody else. And so rather than try and fit in with the black or try and fit in with the white, I just stood by myself because that was the only thing I knew how to do. And my mum and dad were like, we're not going to fight your battles. You stand how you are and loud and proud. And if you don't want to get your hair braided and not have to do your hair for a week, then so be it. You're going to have to get up early and brush your hair out and get the knots out by yourself. And I love that because that was me. And I think if it wasn't for my parents encouraging, not my mixed raceness, they just encouraged me as a young girl, to just, this is who you are. This is what you've been born with, thanks to your mum and dad. And now off you go. I think that's
Excellent.
really important.
Completely agree. A couple more questions before we wrap then. So Divya asks, the Spice Girls played a huge role for young women, myself included, empowering them and changing feminism. The world and the media is particularly critical of women. What do we do? How we look, our ambition. How do you deal with this back then? And what are your thoughts now? And what's your advice?
Well, I mean, luckily I met 4 of the girls that had the same mission as
Yeah,
me. So I had backup in numbers. And, we were driven by spreading the word of solidarity, even though we all look completely different. We're all from completely different upbringings and lifestyles. You had Victoria getting sent to school in a Rolls Royce. You had Mel C probably walking to school. You had me catching 2 buses and dropping my younger sister off to school. We were all very different, but all very similar in our drive and ambition to show not just the world, because we didn't think anybody would even want to hear our music, but we kept on pressing it, just to show that it doesn't matter if you're black, white, fat, skinny, whatever you want to call yourself. You can actually also get on together if you have one thing in common, which is being morally correct and going on your mission and spreading something, not just spreading the love, just spreading that positivity and support for other women. Because when we came out, it was all boy bands. We got so many doors slammed in our face because it was like, girl bands are never going to work. And we were like, but why not? Girls are buying all those boys' records. So if it's girls buying, we're girls. So what we are going to be representing the girls. And not luckily, but very fortunately, it worked, because we would not stop our mission. We wrote all our own songs. We wrote a message in every single one of those songs about supporting each other, about giving praise to your mother for giving birth to you, because that's a whole different story. You men don't have to go through that. But we do, you know what I mean? So it was all about embodying women power. And this wasn't us being feminist. This wasn't, like suffragettes, we're going to burn our bra. It was nothing like that. It wasn't about hating men, because I know men throughout the 90s did end up getting a bad rap, because it was all about the woman being on top and you have to. We weren't even about that. We were just about girls being girls together and supporting each other, because there's nothing like having your girlfriend right there when you're going through all your ups and downs in life and all your problems. You know, they always say like mum knows best, and they do. So women's energy and solidarity is what's actually going to change the world over and over and over again. We just need to stick together and bring all different kinds of races in that pot, and then we'll rule the world, and then I'll take over your job.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. I wouldn't. I can definitely see that happening. Yeah. So the final question then, Mel, is: you and the Spice Girls. This is from Philip. You and the Spice Girls made a huge impact on the LGBTQ plus community. Why do you think that was? And he says, P.S. Two Become One was our wedding song. So,
oh, that is so lovely. Oh, thank you, Philip.
Why do you think that the the LGBTQ plus community was just so behind the Spice Girls and continue to be?
Well, I think what caught people's eye in the beginning is that we were five girls that were really rough around the edges. You know, you've got me with my northern accent and natural curly hair. You've got Mel C, who's a Scouser. You've got Victoria, who doesn't talk but looks elegant. You know, we covered so many different like aspects of, it's the same thing. If you have a group of friends, if you're a girl, you're going to have one of the Spice Girls, or if not three or four of them, that identify with one of us, so we just we didn't realize it at the time, but we represented, I guess, the average group of girls. So none of us were going to change. I wasn't going to be told to tie my hair back and I couldn't wear leopard print. Mel C wasn't going to be changed to wear a short skirt. She was always going to be in her Adidas tracksuit. You couldn't convince Emma to not wear her pigtails. We came already homemade from wherever our lifestyles were growing up. And that was authentic to us. I wouldn't wear what Emma wears. I'm sure Emma wouldn't wear what I wear. We all really respected from the very get-go, living in that house in Maidenhead on the dole, pretending we were looking for work when really we were owing people money in studios writing our music. We were very, who we are is who we are. And we weren't going to then change our look or our music to be all the same or dance all the same or wear the same costumes. We were, and we still are, just homegrown, and you can never get me out of leopard print or Union Jack. Actually, that's more Jerry than me, but I can still nick that. Wait, what was Philip's question?
It was all about, just being a real icon to the LGBTQ community.
That was it. So in representing all of our five different homegrownness, we, there was a few of us in the group that were bisexual, but there wasn't really that word for it then. It was just you dated or you loved who you loved and dated. I dated a woman for 5 years. I wasn't going to hide that. Even if the press would ask me, I would go, well, I don't want to be put into a box. And this is back then before we had the outspoken known names that LGBTQIA plus
Yeah.
have actually done for the community. So I think, as well as being who we were as Spice Girls, I think we were every gay boy's like little secret dream also, because we were singing about stuff, we were flamboyant, we didn't really care what people thought because we knew our words weren't harming people. We were actually encouraging people to be themselves, embrace your curves, embrace your oddness or authenticity. And I think that really does has always appealed to the LGBTQ, and I think we were very much in awe of their support from day one. From day one, it wasn't the radio stations or it wasn't some big boss at Virgin Records. It was the LGBTQ community, 100%. And if you think about it, that community knows good music. I mean, they got behind Lady Gaga before her record was out in the world. So, you know, if you're going to get a nod of approval, you want it from that community. Who cares about any other else community? But that community, they know music.
Mel, this has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed the conversation. I could talk to you all day long, but
me too.
Really
and I'm sure I've spoken over you so much, like I'm doing again, because I like talking like this because it's free and it's natural and free flowing, and you're honest and I'm honest. Even though you're probably going to have some people going, well, you still look like a brown person to me. Well, no, I'm mixed. I'm mixed here in my book. I'm mixed here in the chair that I speak on.
No, brilliant. And yeah, just to wrap, I mean, I look forward to reading the next 3 chapters of the book
it's really,
in March.
Really, really good, if I may say so myself. Really good.
Fantastic.
It's not, I mean, you can pre-order it now. It's not out till the 8th of March, which is Women's Day. And it's just very informational. I mean, I've had people read this book and go, I didn't even think I was in an abusive relationship till I read that book, and oh my God. And by speaking about it, you make it less of a taboo, and we can all help each other because we all know someone. The statistics are too way up there for us to deny it any longer.
Excellent. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, but I completely agree. And I will definitely be ordering my copy of the book. And yeah, want to just thank you again on behalf of Mixed Googlers in EMEA. It's been our pleasure having you at this Talks at Google event.
I've loved it. Absolutely loved it. We have to do it again sometime.
We would love to. Thank you so much.